Yeah, never.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. Yeah, I had some classes my freshman year at 8 a.m. I was a pain in the ass. I did that during pledging. I was a Sigma Nu, and that was awful. That was tough. Anyway,
Well, not how empty it is, like, I don't know what's going on.
they're working on a project or something, and you know, I don't know. Oh, we rocking? Okay. Oh, I'm good. Awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody for being here, and I know it's 6 o'clock. It's late. I'm sure everybody's had a long day, and we're getting into the holidays and everything. But first and foremost, I'd love to start things off with gratitude. In the company that I work with, we start with hugs. We're not going to do that. That's kind of weird because I don't know you guys, but we always do it with hugs, and I know COVID is kind of a thing. So we'll do some of these air fists. But my name's Dane Nielsen. Last name might sound familiar. This is my dad, Dr. G, I think you call him. I call him Daddy Pants. I've been doing that for 38 years. So that's Daddy Pants over here. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about my experiences just with the company that I work with. I work for Laz Parking. We're the second biggest parking company in the country. We're all over the place. We got tons of people, about 14,000 employees. I oversee about 3,000 of those employees in Los Angeles. I've got hundreds of managers. And I started about 16 years ago. I started as a valet parking cars. And that all started because I needed to pay the bills. I was living in Los Angeles, graduated from Pepperdine after leaving Reno. I had a fortunate relationship with my father that helped me, get into that school and succeed and do very well. But I graduated and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I started parking cars. That was 16 years ago. And that was my third job. I originally went to LA to do bigger and greater things. I wanted to be in the entertainment industry, and I worked in that industry for a long time as well. And I answered phones and did everything I could to make it happen. And my path of success changed. That often happens. That might happen for a lot of people here because that's just how life goes. But I do want to talk to you about how I ended up with the Science of Happiness. It's a Yale course. Has anybody heard of the Science of Happiness Yale course? Anybody taken it or looked at it? Oftentimes they offer it for free. Sometimes I've seen it for $50. It's online, you can take it. But I took that at the start of the pandemic. And the reason I took that is because all of those successes, growing up in Reno, getting out of Reno, going to college, going to a great college, working really, really hard to build a career and make good money, have nice things and live by the beach and all those really fancy things. It didn't matter at the end of when the pandemic hit. All that stuff stopped. And my career was in jeopardy. Everybody's career was kind of in jeopardy. A lot of people here were affected by it, I'm sure. A lot of people's careers were affected. And I had about 3,000 people that I had to furlough. And it was a tough situation for everything that we built and grew in LA. When I started 16 years ago, we had about 9 locations. We built it to about 400. So it's been a challenge. And when that happened, I had to take a look back at some of the path I had in my life, what brought me there, and think about what made me successful, the things that drove me, and what my values were, and how I kind of realign myself. The Science of Happiness helped me do that to some degree. And I'm going to share with you some of those things, I believe. Again, you're just talking about success and what people think it looks like. And, my career trajectory has been all over the place, much like when you leave college, it's going to be all over the place. Have your first job, your first career. You might change jobs. I mean, I don't know how many people here change their majors. I changed mine multiple times, right? So that's just part of life, right? Success is this weaving road of mystery. And that's what makes it fun and exciting. You talk about some of the failures of people, Steve Jobs, some of these are the famous failures, right? Failures happen. The pandemic, some people thought it was a failure, or found, some tough times. But I was very fortunate to work for a company that values people. We're a conscious capitalist company. They were able to not only support me through the pandemic, but they also sent me to get my chief happiness certificate. So I've actually been certified to be the chief happiness officer. And I go around and I talk about culture. I talk about what it is to be a happy employee. I talk about purpose and finding your values and and things that are important to you, and gratitude. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. It's going to be just a nice deep dive or like a small dive into what I do. But you know, our story really starts with three best friends. You can see them here. We started 40 years ago. We just celebrated 40 years in business. And it was all about friendships. It's all about three best friends starting a parking company, trying to make it in this world. Like I said, we're now the second biggest parking company in the country. We do transportation, we do food service, we do all sorts of stuff at airports and shuttles and anything transportation, you name it. We do universities, although I can tell you, you guys need some work with your parking. Is it too expensive? It looks like it's too expensive. But that's what we do. And it really starts with the Labs way. And it's about our mission, our values, and our practices. But I really want to focus on those values because values are the core. And that's why it's in the middle: respect, commitment to people, honesty, integrity, trust. There's a reason why these are so coveted and special to us is because they link up, now that I took the class in Science of Happiness, with Maslow's hierarchy needs and that sense of belonging and that inner peace and that purpose, right? So Maslow's hierarchy needs really starts with psychological safety. In order for anybody to find a higher purpose, you got to feel safe in your environment. You have to have a roof over your head. You have to have food on the table. That's psychological safety. Sense of belonging is really just, having a peer group, right? It's whether it's a fraternity or 49ers or sports team. My sports team, look great not have, by the way, but finding that higher sense of purpose, right? So, it all plays together into the science of happiness, the science of positive psychology. You can see that our values are respect, commitment to people, honesty, integrity, and trust. And, the reason I make that distinction, why I talk about values is oftentimes, people are always looking for their path. I spend a lot of time with leaders across the country trying to figure out what their path is to success. And how do you get there? It's taken me 16 years. It's been that whole squiggly road to get to a place where, people would call me successful. And I try and help people and our young leaders in our company figure out what that path is. And, hopefully I can help some of you guys get some tools that might put you on the right path to finding what you might want to do, because you might change your major again. You might need to go find a job on those things. So we do want to start with a quick activity. That's why you got a piece of paper, you got a pen, you need a pen to accompany the piece of paper, right? And I want everybody to take a moment and just think about their most favorite memories, some of their most memorable trips, maybe the things that were most influential in your life, and kind of put together like a top 10 reel, if you will. What are the top life moments that have happened to you? Could have been graduating, could have been coming to college, could have been leaving home, getting your driver's license. There's negative things that impact us, right, and shape us. Could be the loss of a loved one. Think about the top 10 or 15, as many things as you can think. You don't have to list them down by number yet. Just think about all the different things that have really shaped you and brought you to this moment. Things that have defined you, things that have kind of provided you a sense of direction. Think about all those different things that maybe have shaped your life. I can think of some of my own. My house burned down. I lost all my things right after I graduated college. That was tough. A lot of lessons there. Put that up there. Going to school was a big one. Just found out that I'm gonna be a dad. So that's like a pending big freaking thing, right? Yeah, thank you. It's a big deal. A lot of different things have shaped us. Pandemic shaped my life a little bit. I reignited my path and what it is that I want to do, and focusing on young leaders, working with people on finding their happiness. I changed my career path to some degree. What are the things that have defined you? Great achievements. Maybe some of the things that inspired you. Favorite trips, favorite memory with a loved one or a friend. And as you finish your list, start taking a look and see if you can find some common themes or maybe some adjectives that describe it. Meaning family or success or athletics. A bunch of different things. See if you can find some themes in those top moments of yours that you remember. Any commonalities, things that kind of seem similar. It's really kind of starting to paint a little bit of your story and what drives you as you look through some of those things. When I think about some of the major items in my life, I think back at when I moved in with my dad, it was freshman year. I just started working and I had to start paying bills. My mom unfortunately became an addict, a gambling addict, and gambled away everything we had at the time. I had to go visit her in the park. Loma. I didn't want to tell you, because I wanted to protect my mother, but I started working at 14. And seeing those things shape my life in terms of success, wanting to succeed and work hard and move forward with my life. I'm very fortunate because I ended up becoming best friends with my father and spending a lot of time with him. He helped propel the rest of my life. Kind of some of that, so I appreciate that. Those are some big things in my life. Those are things that I would write down. That was a lot to do with family and success moving forward. See, some people are done, and if you want to keep going, you can. I'm just curious if anybody has a list they want to share of, some of the top things in their life. I shared, some personal stuff about me. You don't have to get too crazy. Does anybody have anything they want to share? Their top few moments?
The best thing that has happened in my life is when I lost all of them.
Ooh, okay. Because that taught you some lessons.
Yeah, like everything, thousands of them.
Yeah. Is that your number one moment?
It's up there, yeah.
What other moments do you have on there? If you don't mind sharing.
When I got all the money.
when you got all the money? Yeah. You got all the money, then you lost all the money?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are defining moments for you. Anything else?
Always having a job.
So working?
Yeah.
I mean, working hard for the money and then losing the money that you worked hard for?
Well, even if I don't work hard, it just makes me feel better than my friends have done.
Okay. So do you have some common themes? I'm sure you have more on your list there, but what are some of the common
They're
themes?
very
Heavily financial. Okay, yeah.
There's a little bit family.
That's all right. It's great. Anybody else want to share some of their lists? Dr. G, do you have any life moment? I mean, you live you're 100 years old, right?
This is so long.
I mean, what are some of the key moments you think of in your life that shaped you?
Just had to do with school here. Some years ago, I went back to get my master's. Long story short, my advisor at my master's insisted I go on a PhD. And I thought, well, he didn't want it, I don't care about it. But she insisted and she gave me a job. So I ended up studying with her for 4 years, a top educator in the world. And I'll never be more grateful. I can't give people the time to help. So
That stands out.
that's way up.
That's a big one. Yeah,
a big one.
And what I'm getting at, what I typically work with, my young leaders and the thousands of people in our company is trying to find a path. And this is just one tool, right? And what we often find when you find commonalities, the things that have made you successful are the things that stick in your mind. Through the science of happiness and what we know about how psychology works, so those things usually tend to be your values. So we talked about values of a company, talked about some of your values of finance. That's great. Sometimes values change and evolve. Oftentimes people pick finance, but it's usually for family reasons too. Like they want to make money so that they can provide for the family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we all, I mean, that's a driving force for me as well. I got a kid coming, so like, I got to figure shit out. You know what I mean? Like, that's gonna be crazy. But values, they define who you are and they define what drives you. They can help provide you a sense of direction, whether you're looking to change majors, you're trying to figure out what it is that you want to do. And what I can say to you now is you're all going to graduate and you're going to have to work and you're going to have to find a company that you feel is worthy of your time. And you're going to spend a lot of time with the people you work with. So you want to find a job that aligns with your values, hopefully, a company that has great values similar to the company I work for. And that will propel you forward. And when you talk about the science of happiness, aligning your values can lead to that higher sense of purpose that we talked about, which leads to happiness. And I can only speak from experience that it's true. I had to take a leap of faith, many years ago. I say this is the company I want to work with. I spent half of my 16 years working multiple jobs because I wasn't sure if this was the path I wanted to take. But when you take a look at the values of the company, I said, this is the company I want to be with. It's been tremendous. Everything that I've ever wanted to do, I've been able to do. I've traveled the world, financially, I have freedom, but I have time affluence and the ability to spend time with the people I love and travel, do fun things, all that kind of stuff. So we talked a little bit more of what some of those things are, and you might find some common themes. If you look at your piece of paper, you might see stuff like, success or commitment or finance or teamwork or family. This is just, just kind of a hodgepodge of some values or keywords that might give you a sense of the path forward. And, really it's just all about finding purpose. And this is just one, kind of Venn diagram that shows you what that is. If you love it, the world needs it. If you're great at it, you can get paid for it, and that's a sweet spot. Sometimes it's a challenge. A lot of people here are going to take their first job and they're going to have to figure out, if that's something that you're going to want to do and kind of work your way through it. Does anybody here know exactly what they want to do when they grow up?
We have a musician back here.
Oh yeah, we got a musician. Okay. What do you want to be when you grow up?
A performer and a teacher.
Love it. Anybody else?
Well,
A gambler, a professional gambler?
if I could get paid.
Do you get paid for it? Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I guess to accumulate wealth, but I know what I want to do.
Okay. So you have your end goal in mind, huh?
Yeah, I just want to work on cars. That's it.
Oh, nice.
Just big buck shed.
Okay. All right. Anybody else know exactly what they want to do? Basketball? Love it.
He's on the UNR team and we're very successful right now.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Love basketball. I was a basketball player in high school and I love basketball. That's awesome, man. It's great. Anybody else?
I want to do track profile, and if that doesn't work, I want to start my own business.
Love it. Good. Good. Well, for those people that might not know, or unless you might come to a crossroads, you could think back at what are the things that made you successful, and can you find values that align with that still satisfy that, kind of inner, need to do that. Because life, again, it's all over the place, right? Success isn't just a straight line. It's going to be kind of twists and turns. So there's just some, key skills that I wanted to share. And again, the science of happiness and this course with Yale, it's a full college class. It's all about neuroscience. It's positive psychology. I encourage you to take a look at it. I think it's free if you don't want the certificate. You can take a few classes, it'll blow your socks off. You can take the whole thing. It's fantastic. I know you guys are all busy, but I highly recommend it. So, I just want to share a few pieces of the pie. And really, one of the bigger things you learn is that, happiness is a skill that can be developed. can't become a happy person. It's scientifically proven, right? There's things that you can do. Now, you know, for the athletes that are in the room, do you guys ever get into a flow state or kind of in that zone when you're, you know, when you're doing whatever it is you're doing with track? I mean, you get, like, you feel like you get to a zone at some point. All right, yeah. Working out, health, fitness, I mean, it's proven to make you a happier person. That's why they recommend that you work out in the morning or sometime in the day, 30 minutes of exercise. There's mental exercise you can do, right? Meditation, yoga, stuff like that. It's scientifically proven that health and fitness, mental and physical health is something that could really boost your happiness. So if you're looking for ways to, you know, be a happier person or kind of get out of a slump, you know, hit the gym. It's pretty simple, right? Relationships and people. Connectedness. That's one of the biggest things that can make someone happy. It's relationships and people. There's a very famous study that is referenced to the science of happiness, that course that was done at Harvard. And it wasn't the people that made a ton of money. It wasn't the people that were super well connected. It was the people that had the strongest, healthiest relationships, often from the poorest backgrounds, that lived the happiest, longest, healthiest lives. Pretty wild. So it basically, you know, the science shows that it isn't just about money. It is about relationships, finding that happiness with people and relationships, and those you surround yourself with. But the biggest way that you can influence happiness to be a happier student or happier family member or happier person is showing gratitude. And there's a great study that they've got a wonderful video on that I want to share with you real briefly.
Shut up.
What? Like,
At least I'm so earnest.
What makes you happy? Having fun, hanging out with friends, delicious food, making money. Consider this. Psychologists have scientifically proven that one of the greatest contributing factors to overall happiness in your life is how much gratitude you show. Yeah? Think about that. Go ahead and marinate on it for a second. You can thank me later if you want. It'll make you feel better according to this study. You go ahead and click on it and read it if you want. Or you can keep watching because we read it. We thought it might be fun to test out for ourselves. We gathered a selection of volunteers to act as our subjects. First, we gave them a test. They didn't know what we were looking for, but it gave us a pretty good idea of their current level of happiness. We asked them to close their eyes and think of somebody who was really influential in their life, somebody who did something really amazing or important for them. We had them write down as much as they could about why this person was so important. Now, a lot of them thought at this point the experiment was over, until we really put them on the spot and tried to get them to call that person and read what they wrote about. Thank you, Jessica. We're gonna have you call your mother. So who was that right person for you?
Person is my sister Erica.
We're gonna give Erica a call.
Okay.
Who'd you end up thinking?
Friend of mine, Craig Ames. Her name is Dora.
I can't imagine.
Really? Is this somebody you're still in touch with today?
No, I'm assuming that he's passed on.
That's a shame.
You
You up for it?
Yes.
What would you say if we called up Dora?
Oh, well, we can try, but she lives
In Britain?
I don't know a number by heart. This is awful.
That's fine. I don't know my one's under my heart.
If it's true that those who are going are looking down on us, maybe we're not to disgrace.
Hey, sweetheart.
hey, how you doing? You got a second? Where you at, the hotel?
I am on the hotel. You sure did, yeah, but
No, I'm on like this little TV show, and they told me to talk about the person that influenced me the most, and I picked you, and then making me call you. They're making me call you.
Pretty great. I'm here right now.
At the tone, please record your message.
Oh, come on. Hello? Hi. Erica, it's me.
All right, so I gotta read you this paragraph. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead, sweetheart.
The person that influenced me the most would be my mother, Marlo Dawson. She is a single mother of two. She is a very hard worker and dedicated to her family.
Hey Craig, this is Lily. This is gonna be a funny little voicemail, so I hope you enjoy it. I'm so sorry for calling you at 4:00 in the morning.
I have to read this to you, okay? And you can't say anything or, I don't know, you can respond, but I probably will just keep going. Okay?
Is everything okay?
Yes, but I have to read this out loud to you.
The person who has had the biggest impact on my life outside of Jesus Christ, who was responsible for my existence, was my college accounting instructor. He had a joy and enthusiasm for his job like no other teacher I've ever known.
I love her dance and she keeps me going with positive talk. She is a woman that knows what she wants and won't give up until it is achieved.
Beautiful. I have wonderful.
I first met Craig on the independent feature film set in Whitefish, Montana. I recently have been sending Craig a lot of positive thoughts as he suffered a series of health problems. Despite his medical problems, he's continued to work and take pleasure in the small things in life, like sitting quietly with his wife Janine on the porch.
Erica is my older sister and my best friend. Sometimes it even feels like we are twins. She's my #1 fan and my #1 supporter. She makes me happy because despite all my mistakes and my decisions, she still loves me no matter what.
Your friendship is everything. And you are one of the most important person in my life.
Even when she was a kid and many children, I will love her more than her kids. Okay, maybe not. I will never forget when she flew 3,000 miles at the drop of a phone call to save me from a breakup.
I'm being blessed to have a son like you. I love you.
Bye.
Why did you do that?
I don't know because they made me do it.
Thank you for picking up. Bye, sweetie.
And then they're like, here, you're gonna write this letter. And then I wrote like this whole long ass letter, which, you know, I like don't write. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, guess what? Now we're gonna call her and you're gonna read her this letter. And I was like, what the?
Before we let them go, we gave our subjects one more happiness test. Now we mixed up and rephrased the questions so they didn't know they were taking the same test twice. For those who took the time to actually write something down but couldn't make the phone call for whatever reason, we saw happiness increase between 2 and 4%. Good, but not exactly mind-blowing. Now for those who actually picked up the phone and personally expressed their gratitude, we saw increases between 4 and 19%. So either way, expressing your gratitude will make you a happier person. But you want to know something really interesting? The person who experienced the biggest jump in happiness was the least happy person who walked in the door. What does that mean? That means if you're having a particularly tough time, trying this out will more likely have a greater impact on you. Trust me. I'm allowed to. In fact, while you're at it, film it and upload it to us. And we'll just make awesome with it. I'm Julian, and this has been the Science of Happiness.
Open a cake, subscribe.
All right, y'all got a piece of paper, know what's next. We're gonna write a gratitude note. Yeah, I know, exciting, right? Don't worry, you don't have to share it if you don't want to. Take a moment and just think about somebody who's really impacted your life. Put it on paper. Got a really awesome one last class, really touching. It's a bit personal, but there's some really amazing powerful things that can be done with gratitude. In the first class, a lot of people shared it. It was really powerful, special too. So just think about somebody that has shaped you. Could be a parent, could be a grandparent, could be a friend. Think about somebody that has really influenced your life. Someone like Dr. T, happens to be Daddy Pants for me. Helped shape my life and really gives you the opportunities to be a successful person at this point. Thank you. Think about that person. Let's write them just a quick word of gratitude. Looks like we're making some good progress, and for those people who aren't finished, finish up. We saw how important it is to share. Anybody have any gratitude they want to share? You don't need to read your whole letter if it's personal. But does anybody want to be bold enough to talk about somebody that they're grateful for? Yeah.
Sure. I said, my person was my mom, and I said my mom was the most important person in my life. She shaped me into a hardworking, independent, and successful person. No matter how mean I am to my mom, she will always love me the same amount, and shows me how it feels to be truly loved. My mom is superwoman. She takes any challenge and takes it with the best of her abilities and never gives up. If I ever need motivation, I just think about how loving, kind, and caring my mom is. She's the strongest person I know.
Nice, powerful. That's awesome. All right, nice. How about this next table? Anybody here have a share? Hard no. All right. How about table in the corner? Anybody want to share just briefly who they're thankful for? Don't need to read the whole thing if you don't want.
Sure, I'll go.
Give it a try.
I said I was grateful for my grandpa because, I mean, he was with me like when I always like grew up and stuff. Watched me grow up to be like this girl I am now. He also like coached me in pole vaulting, and I'm like his only grandkid to do that. So that's like a really special bond that we have. And yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. Thank you. Call clap. Anybody else? At this table, anybody?
I said I'm most grateful for my mom. I don't think she's ever done anything for herself since the time I've known her, and even longer than that. And she had my brother 43 years ago. She had to travel all over the country as a single mom because she was born with a lot of defects. And when she had my sister 35 years ago, her husband died. And so she worked 2 jobs to provide for both of them. And when she had me, and I was the least intelligent kid in school, she'd come home from 2 jobs and she'd tutor me for hours every single night. And she never gave up on me, even though I got expelled and suspended a lot. And 2 years ago, when I was in a motorcycle crash, she was wiping my ass and feeding me again. So, yeah, I don't think she's ever done anything wrong for us.
That's powerful. Thank you.
Take it out, clean it.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
That's pretty cool, man.
Anybody else want to share?
I'm grateful for like the highs and lows of my life. It was times where earlier when I was like younger, my mom had to work like multiple jobs and we didn't have like money getting into the house and my dad wasn't around. So there'll be times where we would struggle to eat every day or have to like get basic needs in the house. So I'm just grateful that throughout the highs and lows of my life, like my mom was there to step up and be there for me and my brother. Whenever we needed like her aid.
That's awesome. And here you are. That's great. That's a wonderful story. You know, and I think the biggest and most powerful piece of what we saw in that study, in that video was, you know, how often do we tell that to the people that mean the most to us? You know, sometimes we don't, we just feel like that there's some kind of kinetic bond and they understand that we're so grateful. I don't know if you've ever said that to your mother. I'm not sure if you've ever said that to your mom, you know, like those things are powerful. And I encourage everybody, maybe not read your letter if you don't feel comfortable or do, and call them on the phone or go see them and say, hey, I just want to sit down and say something to you. It's super powerful. I go around the country and people do this exercise. They come back for day 2. We usually do 2 or 3 day seminars and it's nuts. I did this with my wife and she looked at me like I was nuts. I was like, what's going on? But she wears the pants in the relationship. So,
I like the part of the guy that had the accountant teacher, taught him accounting.
Mhm.
Because a lot of the people that help him getting older, they're not alive.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm gonna write this down. I'm just gonna say it out loud as if they're there.
yeah.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, so we do a leadership summit in Palm Springs, and we did one in October. It's a 3-day seminar. We take, you know, our youngest, most high potential people across the country, and we did this exercise. And my boss, you know, the big VP guy, was like, "Hey, I got one." And he had just lost his father-in-law, and he read his letter to his father-in-law, and like it was like, you know, a bunch of grown men like crying. You know, sometimes the most important people in our lives aren't there anymore, especially as we get older. So, you know, there's highs and lows that shape us. But again, there's tools in the science of happiness. If you start with gratitude, that's one of the single most important ways that you can find happiness in your life if you're looking for it. When I started this course back in April of 2020, was it, the pandemic? I mean, we were at the bottom and I, you know, I lost my sense of purpose, all of the hard work and things that I've done to be successful to go from not having much to having a lot in my life. You know, it was a little bit scary. And I started with Science of Happiness in this course. And I've done a gratitude journal every day. As part of that course, I've done it every day since April. I have a bookshelf full of gratitude journals. And it's not all crazy stuff. It's here's the day, gratitude I'm grateful for. And it's a bullet point list of stuff. Sometimes it's, you know, watching the Lakers win because they're terrible. I love to see them win a couple times like these. Sometimes it's just walking my dog. My dog's been amazing. You know, so, you know, sometimes it's the most simple thing, but if you can start every day with gratitude, I promise you, you'll start your day off on a better foot. And so that's a bit about the science of happiness. Anybody have questions? I got some here that I'll read off. Maybe we'll get out of here a little bit early. I know it's late. Everybody's tired. You got stuff to do. Any questions? I can jump in with a few and then, you know, we'll see how things go. Let's see, I got a whole stack here. So let's pick a few. This one says, favorite place you have visited. Well, I finally went on my honeymoon a couple of months ago. I had the wonderful opportunity to go to Europe for the first time. Anybody been to Europe? Pretty wild. It's pretty wild. I was very happy to, you know, come back and, you know, it's just different. You know, it was awesome to see it. I saw London, I saw Greece, saw Paris. It's awesome. That's probably my favorite place that I visited because it was an eye opener. It was really cool. I had the opportunity to live in Argentina for a while. That was insane. My favorite part of Argentina, I always say, was Brazil. It's just 2 different countries. Brazil was awesome. I stayed on the beach in Brazil. And it says best lesson your father has taught you. And I think it's probably never make the same mistake twice. That's really, I think he used to say that to me as a little kid all the time. I just
Take my own advice.
yeah. He always said, you make it the second time, you got a problem. I was like, oh, yes, sir. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I think that was probably the best lesson. It just comes to mind. What's my favorite car? So I parked cars for a really long time. I think I probably parked easily 1 million cars. That sounds crazy, but I park a ton of cars. I don't park a whole lot of cars anymore, but my favorite car it's not the type of car. It was Phil Jackson's car. Huge basketball fan. Parked his car at Duke's in Malibu, and then I pocketed the $10 he gave me. I stole the money, and then I asked him for an autograph, which is not what I would have any of my employees ever do. But Phil Jackson is one of the greatest basketball
We
coaches
only
of all
have
time.
one person who knows who Phil Jackson.
One of the greatest basketball coaches of all time, Chicago Bulls, Lakers. Anyway, so I got his autograph on a valet ticket, hangs in my office, along with the $10 I stole. My company would love to hear that story that I stole from them. But that's my favorite car. It's like seeing an icon. What about your job brings you the most joy and happiness daily? Well, that's tough because I do a lot of stuff I don't want to do. But I do that so that I can do the stuff that I do want to do. I do spend a lot of time with people in this setting, a lot of trainings and time with them. I would say that, my favorite thing daily, I start every day with, used to be called the daily breath, turned into kind of semi-daily, so I changed it to morning mojo, but every day since about April, I created a morning newsletter, and I do a, mojo of the day, daily quote, something that inspires me, a picture, something from sports, and I send that out to the entire company. 1,000 people on an email thread. That's one of my favorite parts because it's sharing something that inspires me in the morning and helps motivate others. And it's cool. Sometimes I get people that send me notes about how that really affected their day, or that they're going through a tough time and they appreciate the extra mojo, the extra inspiration. I get a lot of joy out of that. Kind of fun. What's my overall motivation? I think it's always been, when I talk about values, I think it's always been success, but I think that all stemmed from, my upbringing and wanting more and wanting to succeed. And I was very fortunate to go from a small town such as Reno, go to LA and get my butt kicked and, be surrounded by people with a lot of money, be surrounded by fame. I have some famous friends. I have friends that have a lot of money, and I've been able to feel comfortable with that, or otherwise, I wasn't so comfortable around that. And I think that has helped me, be successful too, is to not be afraid of what, you don't have. And sometimes you kind of have that imposter syndrome where you kind of feel like you don't fit in. I certainly felt that when I rolled up in a Pepperdine with my, lowrider Honda, Civic with white rims and a muffler. They're all driving Mercedes and everything else. I mean, I stood up like a sore thumb, but I made it happen. And I think success and just wanting more is what keeps you motivated. Do one more. Do I like the hospitality industry? I do. It's all about people. And it's been incredible. I work for some of the most high-profile hotels in the world. Rosewood just recently got a Michelin star at the restaurant. They're a 5-star hotel, and the cheapest room you can get is $3,000 a night. Incredible, but it's about bonds and meeting people. And for my honeymoon, or when I got married, they got me a room right on the beach, and lo and behold, I saw whatever Kardashian get engaged with Mr. Parker on the beach, and I got pictures, with them, and it was wild, and it was free for me because, in the hospitality industry, people help each other, helping people. So that was pretty cool. Any other questions? I could sit here all day and read through these, but you got one?
Do you feel like the people where you work are happier since you started doing this?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate. I work for a company, we're conscious capitalists, meaning, we're not, well, obviously we're a for-profit company, but that's not number one for us. People has always been number one for us. What we're seeing now is that our focus more on the people now that we've come out of the pandemic and putting together trainings like this and going around and talking to leaders about happiness and what it is to, be successful, and it's not all about the money. Yeah, it's changing people. It's getting us closer, and, it makes us fight for each other. Work isn't always just rainbow and fairy tales. What we do and what I do can be very difficult, very stressful, dealing with the multi-million-dollar locations, several of them, so there's a lot of stress involved, but yeah, I think so. And I think that the world is changing very quickly, and everybody here, you're going to leave school and have a great opportunity to pick a profession or a company or a career that is meaningful to you. I don't think that was always the case. Now you might have to fight and claw for a little bit, but I got to tell you, employers are changing. There's a lot of big companies that have chief happiness officers now, people that have gone through training like me who are running programs like this, and it's pretty impressive. I got my certification at Florida International University, and there were people from Deloitte, which is a big accounting firm, and people from all sorts of crazy industries, and they're all in class learning about this stuff because people understand that retention of talent and also obtaining talent. Like when I look for leaders that I'm going to pay 6 figures to come and manage properties for me, like I want to make sure that we have the same goals and values and alignment. You can make a lot of money, in my profession, but it's like investing in real estate or a nice car. We want to make sure it's there, but the employee has a lot of say right now in what it is that they want to do and how they want to work. 4-day work weeks are a big thing. Way people work is changing. In my industry in particular, it's a 24/7 business. A lot of stuff has kind of been dialed back. I'm like, well, I'm not going to work on weekends. I'm not going to work till, I have to work 14 hours a day all the time. Prior to the pandemic, we did it for many, many, many years. I missed a lot of holidays and birthdays, weddings, like his friends' weddings and stuff like that, because you thought that was important. You realize it's not. And now the science of happiness and having someone like myself and other people in other industries, it's kind of changing the landscape a bit. I see it happening more and more, especially in Los Angeles. Good question. Long answer, but anybody else? I think that's it. You guys got like 10 minutes. Merry Christmas. Whether it is you celebrate, you're done, man. Like, get out of here. I mean, you guys got something to do.